Hey YouTubers, welcome back to Donnyboy73. This is another episode of Small Engines Questions and Answers, and today is Friday, January 13th, 2012. And welcome back everybody. If you're not familiar with this program, each week I answer questions that I receive from my viewers in order to try to help everybody out there with their small engine equipment. Before I start off today, I'm going to show you this older snowblower. It's a Mastercraft made by MTD. The reason why I'm showing it is a YouTuber was asking me, what are older snowblowers that are worth restoring? Well, this could be one that's worth restoring because most of the parts are still available for it. And it is made of solid metal. The shell here is pretty thick for the auger. And it takes quite a while for them to rot right through. So with a bit of paint sometimes you can make them look nice and new again. And this one here is built pretty solid. Even the parts inside the transmission are well built. You're hardly ever going to have to fix that transmission. And they'll usually come with a Tecumseh motor, which you can still get some parts for them. Anyways, I would recommend this snowblower because some parts are still available, they're built pretty solid, and they have a Tecumseh motor. And also I want to thank all the YouTubers who send me some monetary gifts. I really appreciate that, and I do put all that money back into my shop or towards the making of videos for you guys here on YouTube. So whatever amount you give, it's always appreciated. In my first question today, a YouTuber sent me an email a little while ago saying that when he went to replace the belt on his snowblower, he could see in there that the chain was off one of the sprockets. Now his question is, how do I get the chain back on? How do I access the chain? Well, if your snowblower has chains in the transmission, you would have to take off the belly pan underneath the snowblower. And once that's off, you could access all the chains and the sprockets under there. That's the only way you can access the chains if you want to replace them. If the chains keep coming off your sprockets, you may want to check the bushings to make sure that they're not worn out. That's the bushings at the end of the shafts that hold the sprockets. Sometimes they get worn out and they go out of alignment and the chain keeps coming off. Also, the chain may be worn out and you may need to replace the chain as well. A lot of snowblowers today do not have chains, including all three here that you see and the Honda over there. So it's only a select few snowblowers that you're going to see chains in them. Usually you're going to see chains in the transmission of Murray snowblowers. Like this snowblower here, it's made by Murray and it does have a chain and sprockets inside the transmission. And if you want to prevent wear and tear on your chains and sprockets, every year take the belly pan off and grease them or oil them, and it will make them last a lot longer. In my next question today, a YouTuber asked me the other day, how fast should the oil come out of the oiler hole on my chainsaw? Should it spray out or just leak out? Here I've got a Husqvarna 50 crankcase, and I'm just going to show you here where the oiler hole is. It's right here, and the oil will come out of this hole and work its way to the bar and chain. And when your chainsaw is standing upright like this, the oil will just flow out of here. It's not going to be spraying out. It's almost just going to be leaking down. And because there's an oil pump inside, there is a bit of pressure on the oil so that it can work its way properly inside the holes on the bar. So if ever you start your chainsaw without the bar and chain, do not rev it up because there's a danger here of the clutch flying off the crankshaft and flying into pieces or hitting you. I don't recommend doing this anyways. But by the way, the oil will just flow out of here. It's not a spray or anything like that. So you'd want to make sure that this hole is not plugged. And you'd want to make sure that all the holes on the bar are not plugged as well. This is the oiler hole on this bar. It's not plugged, but if I flip the bar over, you can see that this hole here is plugged. If the small hole on your bar is plugged like this, there will not be enough oil getting it to the chain on your bar. And the chain will get really hot, and once you've been using it for a bit, it's going to jam up on the bar. So if you have this problem, make sure that these holes are not plugged on your bar, because if they are, the oil will not be getting to the chain properly. In my next tip today, it's regarding these snowblowers like this that have a Briggs motor with rivets on the recoil. Now you can repair the recoil here if it breaks just by drilling out the rivets. It's another option of fixing this instead of taking the whole shroud off the motor. And when you put it back on, you can use riv nuts or rivets, but you want to make sure you get the same size of rivets when you put them back in. It would be a rivet approximately this size. It's a 3/16 diameter and possibly a little bit longer. You can also buy these directly from the manufacturer or dealer of your snowblower. If you do go this route to repair your recoil, it may be a bit quicker, but you want to make sure there's enough room to get your rivet gun in there when you put it back on. A previous video I posted was on how to adjust the auger belt idler pulley on a Honda Snowblower. Because of this video, I got asked, are all idler pulleys adjustable on snowblowers? Well, the answer to that is no. Some are adjustable and some are not adjustable. For example, here's an idler pulley from an MTD snowblower, and you can see that it's bolted on this arm. And as you can see, there's no adjusting slot here for the pulley. It just goes in a hole like that. You tighten it on, and then it's stationary. So in this case, the idler pulley on the snowblower is non-adjustable. This pulley here came off of a snowblower similar to these, and they're made by MTD. And these pulleys are non-adjustable. So that's how you know. I just drew an example here of what a slot could look like. My drawing's not good, but anyways, there would be a hole. You'd be able to loosen the nut on the other side of the pulley, then slide the whole thing with the bolt back and forth in order to set the tension. It's not always a bad thing if they're not adjustable, but it is nice when they are because you can set the tension on the belt to what you like or to what you feel the snowblower works best. Even after installing new belts, sometimes people say my blower still won't blow the snow as far as it used to. A lot of the time, what that is just the idler pulley needs to be adjusted. What I'm going to do is put the link to the video of the Honda Snowblower that I made when I adjusted the idler pulley on that one, so that you can go watch it, and that will give you an idea if your snowblower has an idler pulley that's adjustable. In my last question today, a YouTuber emailed me the other day and said that he has an older snowblower from the 70s with a Tecumseh motor. He replaced the fuel line, fixed the carburetor and all that, and he notices that there's no fuel going from the fuel tank to the carburetor. So obviously he's wondering what's causing that. Now, I haven't seen his snowblower physically, but what I find that usually happens on these older snowblowers is that they have a fuel valve like this, which is made of metal, and oftentimes it gets so rusted inside there that it's plugged. And at that point, the fuel cannot flow in and out to go to the carburetor. If it does flow, it may be very limited. There could also be a lot of rust going into your carburetor and causing a problem. So if you have a problem where the fuel will not come out of your fuel tank past the fuel valve, make sure to check it. If it's made of metal like this, you can replace it with a plastic one. What I do is I replace it with a plastic valve like this. They don't rust, they're easy to turn on and off. You don't have to unscrew the back like this one. And there's little O-rings in these old fuel valves, and often they get rotted and then fuel will leak out over here. But on these plastic ones, I find they're trouble-free, they're cheap to buy, and they're easy to replace. So if you have a fuel flow problem on your older Tecumseh motor, always check the fuel cutoff valve underneath the fuel tank. So that'll be pretty well it for today's Q&A video. Thanks again for watching. I want to welcome all my new subscribers this month. And again, I appreciate all your comments under my videos. I do my best to answer all the questions, but sometimes I'm just too busy. I cannot get at every question. It's not because they're not important, it's just time is limited for me at this time. So have yourselves a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.